Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Watchers. No intro video this week because we are terrible at this, and I don't even know why we have a podcast, to be honest. Uh, our guest this week is Kyle, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Kyle Wingart.
Weingart. That was close.
Weingart. Oh, we're doing the German thing here. Okay,
Oh
so
yeah, that's the whole thing.
is the W pronounced like a V? Is it Weingart?
Maybe in Germany.
Ah,
Here in the States, we just say Weingart. But yeah,
Weingart. Okay, Kyle
yeah.
Weingart. I was close. Usually, I should have let Drew try to uh, pronounce it. That's always the fun part.
I would have
Um,
got it right.
yeah, I probably would have. Uh, so, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, if that's okay, Kyle, to our audience? Then we'll go ahead and we'll
Cool.
discuss.
Yeah, I'm Kyle Weingart from Hamilton, Montana. Um, and yeah, I work in the film industry. Um, Sometimes get blessed enough to write and direct, but a lot of the time I just do crew work.
Question for you:
Yeah.
How has your life in Montana changed since Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone? Do you get a lot of like annoying people showing up because of that?
You know, that's definitely got to be careful how I answer this. There's been a pretty big influx of people coming into. So I live in Hamilton, is actually where um, the Dutton Ranch is. So it's just down the road where that the first set of it is, or whatever. And so, like, my wife worked on the show, so they paid our bills for a while. So I can't complain too much. But um, it's kind of cleared out since then. And I don't think Yellowstone's doing too much more filming here. There's a little bit going on in Bozeman, but I think a lot of people moved here and then realized winter was like 9 months long and really long, really cold. So I feel like it's starting to settle down. There's more houses on the market now, more rentals and stuff. So it was fun while it lasted, I think.
Yeah, no, I was curious. You're the first person that I've had the opportunity to talk to since I started paying attention to that show. I didn't realize how much of a powerhouse it was.
Hmm.
And then I realized I was missing out on something that was culturally relevant. So
Hmm.
last year I just binged it before the final episodes. And uh, yeah, I was like, man, I bet it sucks in Mon. There's probably so many people just flocking over there right now, just taking over.
Yeah, no, there's definitely that. I think the biggest like change that kind of affects people here is that there's just a lot of people who've lived here forever. They've done the same thing forever. They go to the same restaurant every morning for breakfast, meet their boys, um, and then like in Darby, that's where a lot of it happens. They try to go to that restaurant and now it's packed. So I honestly think
Yeah.
that's where the people get, and housing prices obviously, but those little kind of traditions that are kind of getting harder to do because of the influx of people. I think that's where that most people notice it, but yeah, it's slowing down now that they've kind of moved out of town, and um, yeah.
That kind of reminds me of Jaws, with the dichotomy of the islanders versus the vacationers that show
Hmm.
up,
Yeah,
and how like you're never going to be an islander. It doesn't matter if you've lived on this island for 30 years, you're not an islander.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. There's definitely a little bit of that. I'm a little bit more open, but I get it at the same time. Yeah,
I mean, I would be, I would keep everything. Like, this is not your cattle. Get out of here.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, not to
There's
derail and go on like a
Oh,
Yellowstone
I was
thing.
about to derail it because I was just going to say there's reasons that I can't live in Montana, and most of them involve having lots of land and places to bury people. So,
yeah.
oof.
No, it's a special place. I love it here, but yeah, it comes with its own challenges. Filming here is especially challenging no matter what time of year it is. If it's winter, it's obviously bitter cold. If it's summer, it's hot and dry, and then there's a lot of smoke from wildfires. Um, it's just a constant battle of the weather here. But then you get these beautiful backdrops that you can't find anywhere else. So, and the crews around here just are awesome. They work so hard, and with a smile on their face most of the time. So, most of the time.
Awesome. Yeah. I won't derail and make this about Montana anymore. Uh, so I am actually kind of pumped to eventually get to is let's make sure that I am pronouncing it correctly. Is Cuisine de l'Apocalypse?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'm a chef, and I'm like super interested to get into a conversation about this movie. But let's kind of go further back a little bit, and like what got you into film in the first place?
Well, like me and my brother Jeremy, we've always been doing films. So, like in school, anytime there was an art project or any sort of project, we'd make some sort of ridiculous film. Ones that a lot of them got burned up in a fire, and I'm so glad that they did. So nobody ever gets a chance to see them. But yeah, I don't know. And we just kept kind of making these little things. And he graduated, and I got into school, and kept kind of doing the same thing. I remember in high school they did. There was a video production class, and then I did that, and then I convinced the teacher to do a video production two class. Just so I could kind of keep doing that stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Always just kind of loved making movies. Most of the time behind the camera. Every once in a while I'll get in front of it, but uh, I freeze up on camera. This is hard enough for me, you know.
I like the kind of back and forth a little bit. We make movies too, and not on the level that you do. We're kind of more on the stuff that burned in the fire, probably.
Sure.
Um, but um, I've always had to act it on stuff out of necessity, just because we don't have a large enough crew.
Hmm.
And now that we're like this far into it, like I almost kind of find myself. I specifically start writing for myself now.
Hmm.
As I guess I'm going to be the star of this. I'm gonna have to wear both hats. But yeah, it's always cool to get in front of the camera, but that's not really what I ever wanted to do
Hmm.
too. Uh, but so did you guys go to like any type of specific film type school, or did you just kind of do like the communications thing?
No, so University of Montana has a film program, and that's where I'm from is Missoula, and that's where the university is. So I got into that, and met a few people that I still work with today. But that I feel like with that kind of thing, with film education, especially unless you're going to like some specific film school that just does this, you kind of get the education you want out of it. And me and a few of the guys like really wanted to do this. It wasn't just something we were like, oh, let's go take film classes and have some fun. I had to pay for my school. I didn't have any scholarships or anything like that. So it was really important to me that we learned what we were going there for. And yeah, we were just constantly like, even when we weren't assigned to make films, we were making films on the outside of that. Um, and But yeah, once you get into the actual like film world, it's a whole nother level of schooling because yeah, the first few sets I was on, I was like, this is nothing like uh, I was thinking it was going to be, because it's very intense on a big film set, which was very different than me and a few friends with a DSLR doing whatever we wanted.
What were those first sets that you were working on?
So I did some random PA gigs for like music videos and stuff, and a couple of really indie features. But I really didn't feel like there was a film we did called The Last Sun, that was shot up in Montana, and I was a scripty on that, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I was working with all these stars that I grew up on, that I was like, oh my gosh, and I'd never had really scripted anything big before, and that was when I was really like, oh my gosh, this is something different. And I was so out of my element. I feel comfortable on set now, but yeah, those first few feature films that I was on, especially again with people I like grew up on and was like, these are my heroes. And then meeting them in real life, and having to be normal. I tried to come off as normal. I don't know, but we'll see. They might have said things when I wasn't around. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you compartmentalize that when you're here? You're already kind of like a little nervous because it's different, and then you're meeting someone that you look up to and kind of
yeah,
admire or know. Like, what kind of a shock to the system is that for you?
it was. I don't know. So it's probably different for everybody. I was in sales before I got into film, so having to kind of like I just kind of look at it the same mindset, like I'm selling, and even though I'm nervous to talk to, whomever, or whoever, I always get that wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, I think a big part of it is when I realized that they're at work, they're working. And yeah, I don't know. It just, doesn't really get to me anymore. But the first few times, I remember like on that first show, I was sitting in the tent and there was like 5 stars that I'd watched on TV before, and we're all in the same tent, and I'm just like in front of the monitor. And I remember having that moment like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. I can't believe I'm in this room right now. Felt very undeserving. But yeah, now I feel pretty comfortable with it. I've worked with enough names that I recognize and stuff like that. Thought it was funny, not trying to segue into Cuisine de l'Apocalypse, but we had a few stars on that I grew up on, and I was, super pumped to have them there. But we brought out our local newscaster, or she was the news person. I don't know what the title is. All my life growing up, and that was the one I struggled with the most. I was so nervous around her, and because she's just a local hero, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, you got Jill Valley," and I'm like, "Yes, we did," But yeah.
That's great. Um, so you had mentioned having a background in sales. I would imagine like that's probably a useful skill to have in the film industry, right? Like
Mhm.
how has that helped you?
Well, I say this a lot, but like being in film, like producing, is sales, because you have to sell your idea, you have to sell the crew behind it, you got to sell where you're filming it and why. Um, and it's I don't know if there is such thing as an honest salesman. I like to think I am. I'm a terrible liar, so if I'm like, I have to believe in what I'm doing, and I think it starts with that. And yeah, just kind of framing things in a way that what I'm pitching means something to the person that I'm pitching to, and it's, part of sales is like fact finding, finding out who you're talking to and you know, um, what they believe in, and seeing if my product, which is the movie in this scenario, is something that resonates with them. And then that's kind of what we talk about. And yeah, and I do everything I can to make good on that promise. It's different than selling a car, but um, I always like to think I was selling the right car for the right person. But yeah.
I could use that right now. I've been trying to hit deer to get rid of my car. And literally the other night I was coming to a stop sign, so I was going real slow and a deer came out and ran into my car.
Mm,
And I was like, of course, now's the time that now's the time I'm gonna hit a deer. Uh, but no, that's an interesting perspective that we haven't been able to see yet. You're kind of like the first one that we've been able to ask those types of questions, and I have been thinking about kind of segueing into sales as a career right now myself while I'm juggling the podcast and making movies and stuff. So I was like kind of like lightning in a bottle moment for me to
mhm,
get that perspective from you. But
totally.
uh, so on your journey, then, how do you how do you come to like the first film that you actually are in charge of that you're making? Maybe you wrote that you're trying to pitch, trying to get it made.
Hmm.
How do you go from like well, here I am, as you know, I'm on set looking at all these people doing this or the music video thing too. Well,
Mhm.
this is now my creation. This is my baby, and we're gonna do it.
So we did a couple of short films in college, where I was directing and writing them. So that was a nice start. But I was working on these other kind of bigger sets, and we just wanted so bad to tell our stories, because we had quite a few different ones that we thought were unique and ones that we just really wanted to do. So we started small, like our first feature called The Waiting Game. It's on Tubi. It That was a tax return. Like we got our taxes, and we're like, all right, let's put this into a movie. And so it was $5,000. So we spent more than our tax returns, but a big brunt of it was that. Um, and Yeah, and then just kind of hired a very small crew. There was like four of us all together. All the actors were also, and I was in it too. I acted. That was one I did. But we were all PAs. We were all, art department. And we just kind of got a small crew that was passionate enough to do whatever it takes to do this thing. And then, yeah, once we got that one in the can, which honestly has been a huge, it's been very helpful to have at least one feature that we can point back to and be like, hey, we did this. We did it for $5,000. Just imagine what we could do with a little bit more. Um, and then for Cuisine de l'Apocalypse was kind of our next big one, which was much bigger. But Yeah, our executive producer had seen The Waiting Game, um, and knew that we knew how to tell a story, and we just had to find the right story for him. And we really wanted to make Cuisine de l'Apocalypse. We were going to make it anyways, but yeah, he just kind of saw, okay, I can see that you guys know what you're doing, and I trust you. So, um, so then, yeah, we started putting together Cuisine de l'Apocalypse, and it, yeah,
So before we jump into that, let's stay on the waiting game,
yeah,
because I have a couple of questions.
sure,
So specifically, so is that like completely, self produced and self distributed?
yeah.
Um, so the Tubi deal is just kind of you
E-
just sign.
Essentially, yeah, we did. Film Hub had just came out when we finished that, and we had no idea what to do with the stinking movie when we were done. We knew we wanted people to watch it, but we had no idea. Um, and then my wife was like, "Hey, let's just put it on Film Hub," because it was just kind of sitting there on ice for a little while, and because we didn't put a whole lot into it, we were just like, "Let's just get it out there so people can see it," because essentially we made it for a resume builder. And so the most important thing with that is if somebody's looking you up, which we've already seen. We did a product placement bit with a gentleman for one of our films, and he was like, "Well, I had never heard of you, but then I saw you had a film on Tubi, and I watched it, and I was like, all right, I'm all in." Um, so it's been extremely helpful to have, yeah, a film that people can click on and watch for free.
Okay, that's a good perspective. So like we have a couple of movies out, but they're not distributed online like that, and
Hmm.
we just kind of have like a buddy who has a distribution company,
Hmm.
and so like I just kind of shuffle them over to him, and he like it's to me, like I'm a physical media collector,
Yeah, me
so
too.
it's like it's really cool that like somebody could potentially own my movie on disc and buy it at like
Hmm.
Walmart or something like
Yeah.
that. So like I still have that like almost collector's mentality where I'm like, man, that is so cool. Like if you would have told me when I was in high school, like
Yeah, that physical copy, yeah, is huge. Yeah, it just feels right. I started collecting VHS tapes recently because I'm just like, nothing hits like a good old VHS.
I came and went on that sometime during COVID. That's why my mental illnesses came back up like so many other people over the
Mhm.
last 5 years, and collecting was one of them. And so like I jumped right back into like I was doing like all the boutique stuff and like
Mhm.
like Scream Factory and Vinegar Syndrome. And I drove 13 hours to the Vinegar Syndrome archive in Connecticut one day just like on a whim. We were like, let's go to the video store. And then I got into VHS, and it's so difficult because like if you were able to get something cheap, it tends to have the mold in it, and
Yeah.
then go fixing the VCRs. I haven't had any luck with the VCR that
Mm.
I haven't gotten one that just works, and it's like eating these tapes that I just spent like $80 on for some
Yeah.
reason. So like the VHS thing, man. Now they're grading them. It's
Are they?
it yeah, yeah, it is. It's intense right now. I gave up on it like last year, but like some of my prized possessions was I had uh there's a video store that went out of business where I grew up, and they were selling the tapes for like 25 cents or
Hmm.
less. So I bought out like an entire horror section and have like all these amazing genre films. And like I had the four Deathstalker movies that are now like there's a remake of Deathstalker out that was produced by Slash.
Oh wow.
So,
Slash like Guns N' Roses
like
slash?
Guns N' Roses Slash, yeah.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
And I can't remember the director's name off the top of my head, but he did Psycho Gorman.
Mm.
Um, so like Deathstalker's now like, kind of coming back, and it's in the zeitgeist. And the first two are on 4K from Scream Factory, and it's like I have those on VHS, and I would love to just pop them in. But the idea of like my crappy VCRs destroying these tapes, like I can't do it,
I
especially
feel
when
you.
I'd have to like to replace them on eBay would be like $100 each.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, the VHS thing is it's nuts right now.
Hmm.
It's as bad as video gaming or any of the other collectibles that are kind of like destroyed by throwing them in a case and charging astronomical prices.
Yeah.
But yeah, our movie. Everybody keeps telling me like, oh, you know, like so and so would watch it if it was on Tubi. Why don't you just put it on Tubi? Like, get it on the internet. It's like, man, it's so cool that someone just put my movie out and you can get it at one. Go buy the disc.
Yeah.
But it's something I'm going to look into as we're kind of like moving forward. You know, like the idea that you know that person that saw your movie on Tubi might not have Googled it and bought the disc from some website, and
Yeah.
then you're in a different position than you are right now. So
Hmm.
it is a like a wonderful tool for people.
Yeah.
But so the plot, man, how did you come up with it? You got like psychotic drugs, and I'm always down for a good alien.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love
So
alien stuff.
so a lot of it was like what we had. Like we knew we had we weren't going to have budget to bring a lot of people out. So I mean, this is the unsexy version, but it was just kind of like, well, we know it should be found footage based on our budget, you know, and that would give us kind of some forgiveness as far as any bad cinematography, you know, anything like that. Um, and then I just, you know, we didn't have budget for aliens. So we were just like, well, what can we do that kind of lends to that? And I was like, well, what about an alien invasion movie? Well, and I did think, I was like, well, if there was an alien invasion, what would I do? You know? And it was like, well, I'd take me and my family and we'd go out into the woods somewhere and get away from all people, you know? Um, and so then we're like, all right, that's a good way to stay away from technology. And I like the woods are one of the best sets ever. Like you don't have to do anything, and they have production value. So so then yeah, we my wife's parents live in so my in-laws live kind of out in the boonies, out in a town called Huson in Montana, and they had this old camper that was sitting at the edge of their property that had been sitting there for like 30 years. And I just always thought, I was like, that would be a cool location. Of course, it was infested with rats and squirrels and all sorts of stuff. So all the interiors in that film, we had to shoot in a different camper. But yeah, we just kind of used what we had, I guess. And um, yeah, and I just also thought it would be interesting. Anybody dealing with any sort of mental illnesses, this has always been something that I thought was interesting, is what happens when they can't get those, if there was something that happened, because we're all so very dependent on, you know, so many things, not just medicines, but, you know, what would happen if we no longer can have those things. And so, yeah, just kind of leaned into that, did an outline, and there was a lot in that movie that got cut, actually. The first cut of that movie was about 2 hours long, and I hated it. Um, and so then we cut it down to exactly 60 minutes and kind of cut out everything that I didn't like. And then I kind of made a rule. I was like, as I'm going through, anything that makes me cringe is going to get left on the floor. And it did. There's still a few things I'm like, ugh, but we need it. Otherwise, the story won't make sense. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's always tough when you're cutting stuff. So having
Yeah.
that kind of rule, I guess, is helpful. I don't like to cut anything, and I'm not sure why exactly, because you have a point. If it's cringeworthy, it shouldn't be in the movie. There's a reason the cutting room exists in the first place.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, good rule. As far as shooting in the woods and stuff, do you have any production challenges? Like,
Yeah. So that script was written to take place in the springtime. And we were like, okay, it's March. We should be fine. There was the whole in the film, he's like trying to get water. And so we were like, okay, he's going to have to find a water source. And that was the whole thing. And then right before, like 2 days before and we were living in California at the time. But when we flew back to Montana, they got dumped on with like 4 feet of snow. And so we're like, so there's water everywhere now. And so we kind of just went with it. And yeah, it was that much snow. That was the biggest challenge. Like there was, and then there's a scene in that film where I fall into the water a little bit, and that was especially cold. And we had to find places that we could safely do that, because before it snowed and everything was just going to be so much easier. And then I don't know. I think it ended up working out and actually improved the scenery, and it kind of made the whole aspect of it being a survival story, more challenging, but I will say it was so cold because a lot of the time when it snows, it doesn't get super cold. It snows and it sticks around that 20 degrees, but it was like -17 the first day we went out to do it. And that was after it snowed. And I remember we had our call time set to sunrise, which was like, 8 or whatever, 7 or 8. I can't remember. And it was, yeah, -17. And we're like, let's just game plan for a few hours and let it warm up. And then it warmed up a few degrees. And then I just kind of went with it and leaned into the harshness of it. And yeah, it was really cold. You can see my breath a lot in that film, and that was authentic. Yeah.
that authenticity becomes a character in
Hmm.
itself when you're seeing that on screen all the time. Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely something that when you're able to lean into it and get past it, like it definitely gives you an aesthetic when
Hmm.
the completed film is in front of you, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, and like running through the snow. There's a scene at the end where I'm like running from the camper, and there's like these lights that keep shining in the woods. It was me and our sound guy Ryan, really good friend of mine, and we met on that film, and I just we've been such good friends ever since. And I was like, well, that's because we went through battle together. Like we had to do like 4 or 5 takes of that because there was a lot of um, elements to that scene, like people like flashing these big lights in the woods that were just kind of my random buddies. Who I'm like, all right, now when I say this, turn that light on, and you turn that one on. And gosh, yeah, we did so many takes, and we were running through feet of snow. And Ryan was such a beast. He like was timing out his running with my footsteps so that you could only hear one pair of feet running. And yeah, I've never worked that hard in my entire life for that shot in particular.
Yeah, no, that's pretty sick. Um, So the lighting is kind of where I was going to go with my next question. Like, yeah, in addition to those problems, do you have any other issues with lighting when you're, kind of surrounded by wilderness and then also kind of confined to what, like a camper?
Hmm. So the nice thing about snow is it's a bounce. So it actually made everything look pretty good. We didn't have any lighting crew for that entire movie. It was just, what we had, and we used flashlights and stuff like that. So it was I had done a commercial um, where we filmed in the snow, and I realized I'm like, dang, this snow kind of really helps the lighting situation because yeah, we didn't have budget for any of that. So yeah, we just kind of leaned into that. Knew it was gonna look like we had a fancy setup when we didn't. And yeah,
Yeah, that's
but
cool.
yeah,
I would be a kind
flashlights.
of a flashlight. Yeah, I'd be afraid of like maybe too much light kicking up. Is there like a backlighting issue that would occur from the snow?
I mean, maybe. I guess I was still learning a lot as I was cutting that together. So I mean, shoot, I don't specifically remember a time where I'm like, ooh, this is too bright or anything like that. But you know, I just cut whatever looked the best, and had the best performance. But yeah, all the takes looked dramatically different because there was a lot of improv going on and things like that.
But how do you feel about improvisation when shooting? Like, is that something that you kind of would lean into?
In that one, yes, just because I wrote the script and some of the scenes were just um, like the character's name was David. Like David walks to the camper and gets frustrated about this, and then so I would just kind of riff and kind of do whatever. Um, when you're working with like multiple pieces of talent, I feel like with improv, it has to be everybody in the scene has to be able to improv and riff, and otherwise it just kind of falls apart. But but yeah, with that one in particular, all the scenes that had more than one person, they were scripted out. But then when it was just me, I just yeah, kind of gave the cliff notes of what I wanted to happen in the scene, and then I don't know if I thought of something, um, I would say it. Because a lot of it too, I was facing away from camera, so if I didn't want it, I could cut that line or add line. We added some ADR lines, and it was easy because yeah, I wasn't on screen for most of it.
Right. Yeah. JC, do you have anything on this before we move over to the next film to talk about?
How to mute myself already. No, other than it's definitely something that I need to check out. Um, you know, and that everybody listening should also check out because it sounds like it was a fun project and it's going to be a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always dig kind of lower budget
Yeah.
found footage stuff.
Oh, I
It's
love
like
found. Yeah, found footage is awesome.
it's an art form, especially like when obviously it's been done forever now. I mean, since Blair Witch, like
Mm-hmm.
pretty much any way to innovate's kind of been done. So like to when you're watching one and one does kind of catch you and you're like, oh man, that's different. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's always like so like a unique trait that I'm looking for in those
Yeah.
types of films.
Well, in those films too, you also like why is the camera rolling? I think is always the biggest struggle. It's like why are you filming this? You're running for your life. You would drop the camera and run. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, on that, man, I was watching the new VHS movie and like the first segment, this the whole time I'm like, why are these girls still filming? Like it took me out of it the whole way through.
Mhm.
I paused it after that segment and I haven't come back to it because like
Yeah.
it lost all realism to me
Yeah.
with that. So that's like the number one thing that you should address.
Yeah. Well, that's why in the waiting game it was he was filming so because he had amnesia, so he couldn't remember what happened the day before. So he record so that he could rewatch it to know where he's at, what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good
Yeah,
angle for it for
that's a
sure.
good. Yeah, I was going to say that's such a good concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, so we'll move on from a unique alien film to Cuisine de l'Apocalypse, which um, is pretty unique in a lot of ways for its genres,
Hmm.
and you have a really interesting cast too that
Yeah.
I want to ask about here eventually. But um, can you maybe give us kind of like a brief overview of the movie?
Yeah. So it's a film about not letting the end of the world get in the way of you following your dreams. We and it's yeah, it's about our hero who encapsulates that through his own cooking show. Um, and Yeah, I just always thought it was an interesting concept. How can a cooking show save the world? We kind of made this as like a ode to '90s films, you know, where they were original ideas, original cast, um, and just how did they make this all come together? Because it sounds so ridiculous. And then Yeah, it was. We actually made it as a right before we made the waiting game. We were like, well, you know, we really haven't filmed too much on our own with this crew. We should probably go out and film something. And That's then when we came up with the idea of Cuisine de l'Apocalypse, and we made a short film of it. And Then after we did the waiting game, we're like, "Ah, I really want to go back to Cuisine de l'Apocalypse, which means food of the apocalypse in French. We've gotten told by a million people we need to change the title because it's hard to say, but it just makes too much sense. I can't. Yeah, and our executive producer too. I brought that up to him. I'm like, you know, some of the distributors we're talking to say we should probably change the title, and he's like, what? No, 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 no. He's like, you can't change the title. That makes so sense. It's so clever. And I'm like, okay, deal. We won't change it because I love it. You know. I know what
Yeah.
it means, but
Well, I can speak from a completely different perspective as a chef, and I'll tell
mhm,
you that there's nothing that the food industry loves more than being snarky with French cuisine.
mhm,
So, like the title itself, it's perfect.
thanks.
It's not only a play on the genre and stuff that you're doing, but it's kind of an introspective about the food industry itself, and that's something that like I agree. Like, don't ever let anybody change the title of that because it's not only clever, but it's uh, topical
Yeah.
for us in the kitchens as well.
Hmm.
But so yeah, how did you end up casting the crew that you ended up working with? Like,
So the a big portion of the crew is local Montana. Sorry, the cast. So the chef was when we were down in California, we shot that short film of it, and there was Kevin Jack, who plays the chef, who kind of came aboard, and um, we're really big on like family, you know. And so once we made that short film, he was nobody could play that role but him. So when we did the feature, we knew exactly who was going to play that part. Nilo Butler, who plays Lando in the film, I worked with him up here in Montana for many years, and then he actually had just so happened to move down to LA where we were, and so we put him in it because he was just so funny. Um, and then we made another short film of Cuisine de l'Apocalypse. Gosh, in 2020, I think it was. And then We kind of did a little bit more of a casting call, made the film a little bit bigger. That's where we cast Douglas Hall as Wallace. And then my wife, Zuzu Weingart, who's an amazing, talented actress, as the Laura character. And then we just once we made the feature, I mean, as we were doing the short film, it was unpaid for most of these people, but the promise I made was if you come out and do the short film, when we do a feature, you that will be your role in the feature. And they all did such a good job that I was able to keep my promise. And Then as far as Kevin Sorbo goes, I grew up on Hercules and watching that with my brothers, so I was actually I had written the role of Officer Joe based on one of our producers, Joe McNeil, who was my high school resource officer. And he was originally going to play the part, and then one of our other producers brought up, well, I do know Kevin Sorbo, and I can send him an email. And then I was like, let me talk to Joe and see how he feels about that. And I was like, Joe, if Kevin Sorbo would come out and play the role Officer Joe, how would you be okay with stepping down? And he's like, Kyle, if you can get Kevin Sorbo to come out and play Officer Joe, I will gladly step down. And then within a week, we were talking with Kevin, and he was pretty pumped to come out and kick some ass for us. And so, yeah. And then we had another one of our producers, a different Joe, who kind of tied everything together with Emilio Rivera and Natasha Leggero, which Natasha didn't come on until we were 2 weeks into production. We had a local casting choice who was very talented, and I was super excited to have her aboard. But obviously, you need some names to sell your movie. So we were kind of had her on hold, and I still feel terrible about it because she definitely was so good enough to play the part, but didn't have the name. So then when Natasha signed on, she killed it. She also did just such a good job, and she was so fun to be around. But we only had her for 2 days, which is kind of crazy considering how much in the movie she is in. Um, but uh, but yeah, it was kind of a whirlwind. Emilio, uh, we had reached out, and yeah, he was available. He was the same 2 days we had with him, and yeah, they were just a lot of fun to work with. Professionals, pros, and they were very yeah. I mean, they were coming out and working with a bunch of um, kind of no name filmmakers out here in the boonies, and yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they were just pros.
No, that's super cool to hear. So you had 2 days for each of them. How many days did you shoot with Kevin?
I think it was a total of 5 days. It might have been four, but I know he was there the whole week. Um, One of my producers took him out golfing one day, and I don't remember if he made it back on set that day or not. But
So total production, was that like a 5 6 day shoot, or did you have a lot of like second unit stuff once they were gone?
no, so the whole shoot was 24 days. So and then we kind of spaced it out. So we had Kevin for the first week, and the second week was our Amelia week, and then our third or fourth week was our Natasha week. But even though there was 2 days with each of them, we just kind of spaced it out. I was like, because I was a new director, and I'm just like, guys, I don't want to have a bunch of names in one day. Like that stresses me out enough. Let's just do, you know, let's space it out a little bit. And then Natasha, a lot of her character takes place on a video screen, so we were able to shoot all of her like robot stuff. In an afternoon. So
How did you come up with the plot? It's super unique. Like there's robots and like zombies and a volcano and just like
yeah.
a lot of just really fun stuff that. But I would say the closest. Oh, we lost him. I was gonna say that the closest that. Are you there?
Here. Looks like we lost our guest a little bit early there, but I'm really digging the how he's back. I'm really digging the concept. Let me add him back.
All right. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
All good.
No, you're good.
Um, but yeah, so the concept developed with we were just trying to think of something, what to do, and then Nilo Butler, who plays Lando in the film, me and him were just kind of having some drinks and chatting about what we could do, and we knew I'd already came up with the concept, kind of like, ooh, a cooking show in the apocalypse. How would that play out? And really, what we did our first proof of concept, and it was a disease that killed everybody, and it was a lot more serious. Honestly, it wasn't. It was still silly and funny, but it wasn't ridiculous. Then when we did our second proof of concept, I had a script written out, and we were a few weeks away from shooting it, or sorry, from casting it. And then I don't know, I was just driving, and I just kept talking about how I love Gilligan's Island, and I would love for this show to feel like Gilligan's Island, and Chef would be like the Gilligan character. And then I was just kind of like, you know what? I think there needs to be a town, and it can't be just these two guys as the last two people on Earth. And then I was like, and what if it was every apocalypse? So we have robots, we have zombies, we have everything, and we.
Oh no, we lost him again. Just getting into the nitty gritty of it. I have one more question, and it's not even like a crazy one if we end up having him come back. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add with him or not. It's definitely a very cool sounding movie. I have not seen it yet, but it's definitely like on my list. It has such an awesome cast. Yeah, Kevin Sorbo is kind of a controversial figure these days, but
Yeah, I don't know why that keeps happening. But yeah, it's okay. I just click
All
on
right.
the camera button. Um, but yeah, so we just leaned into the whole aspect of it could be any apocalypse, and there would just be endless source material for a series if we wanted to do it, and and then yeah, we just kind of leaned into. I grew up on Mel Brooks; he's like my favorite, and we just kind of wanted to be well. If the joke is so dumb, it's funny. I don't know. We just love that, so we really leaned into it, and kind of it's the other show we really liked was MASH, and it's
okay.
all these places are like these worlds of those shows are these places that are dangerous and you actually wouldn't want to be, but like I would love to go to that camp in Korea, even though I really wouldn't want to, but in that world I would. Gilligan's Island, same thing. It's like I you wouldn't actually want to be marooned on a desert island, but gosh, if you could go visit that place, you totally would. So
Yeah, yeah. I'd still avoid Hogan's Heroes though.
yeah,
I was thinking about that one too when we were talking about it. But then I'm like, I don't know. It kind of seemed like they had fun at that camp.
Yeah, they were the only ones. Um, so, real quick, because I know we're kind of short on time. This one's kind of blown by us, but it's not. It's kind of a professional question and also a creative question. But like, what's it like working on a set with your wife? How do you kind of balance that?
well, we have three kids, so I think that's the biggest struggle is um, just kind of like who's taking care of our kids right now. But so they were also in Cuisine de l'Apocalypse, um, but no, it's great. We have a good shorthand. The only issue is when we're filming something, it feels like we never go home from work a little bit because we like go to wind down for the night and we're just talking about work. But then I don't know, it works out. We're best friends, and of course you kind of get into it a little bit every now and then, just like you would with any crew member. But I don't know, guys. She loves me, and she's nice. So yeah, we make it work. Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, it is interesting directing my wife, because we have um, she knows all my tells, so if I don't like a take, she knows all my tells because she's seen me direct a million times where the other actors don't, because I don't want to ever say, well, that was a terrible take, let's try it like this. I say it a certain way so they don't feel like it's a bad take, that we're just going to try something else. But she knows how I talk, so she'll know. She's like, okay, you hated that. I'm like, no, I didn't. She's like, I can tell you hated it, but it's just a different process with her.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, so yeah, as long as you're not having like Christian Bale meltdowns and like screaming
No,
at each other.
no, I don't think I do that. I don't know.
Uh, but yeah, no, I can't imagine. I don't think I could ever work in that type of environment with my wife. We don't fight, but I think that would start fights. Like, I'm not even sure I'd be brave enough to invite it. Like,
Yeah,
that's like, this works here. We'll just keep this how it is, and then I'll just play pretend over here. Um, yeah, I think it would be nuts. But there's only so much we can cover in an hour of time. Do you have anything else that you wanted to kind of broach with him, JC?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good chance to let him go ahead and plug all of his work, any of his websites, anything. I have some stuff down in the ticker here at the bottom. We'll put everything in the video show notes and that when we post it as well. But we'll go ahead and we'll give you the floor to plug anything you want.
cool. Well, yeah, definitely check out Cuisine del Apocalypse. It's if you liked growing up in the '90s and watching that kind of stuff, the whole idea was to give hopefully the kids today a feeling of what it was like to go to a movie in the '90s. Where they're we're running out of Halloween costumes, guys. Like everybody's still the same thing every year, and there's never anything new. So I'm hoping someday we see some Chef Johns running around, and some Landos, and some one-eyed preachers with snow shovels, that kind of stuff. And yeah,
That really would kind of be like the epitome of like having some kind of cult hit or successful movie, right? Is when you have your Halloween costumes on. You got to get them in spirit Halloween, of course.
of course, yeah, that's the move. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so we're doing a lot of cool stuff to kind of make it feel like the '90s. We have some trading cards that we're putting out. We're working on. So in the film, there's a lot of video game graphics that kind of transition scenes, and
Oh,
we're
that's
gonna
cool.
yeah we're gonna develop into a mobile game that'll be for free, but it's just kind of marketing. So hey, you play the game, you watch the movie, back and forth, but back in the day, you would, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comes out, one of the best movies of all time, the original, and then you go play NES Ninja Turtles, and there was like, you know, Friday the 13th games that were like nothing like the movie whatsoever, but you still bought it and they were fun. Um, I just miss those days so much, because nowadays I mean, I don't really play video games nowadays, so maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like movies come out and they don't really have the video game tie-in like they used to.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're also talking about a cooking book or cookbook. In
That's cool. Yeah.
right, and then I don't know, just a lot of fun stuff like that. We have a TikTok page we're doing that it's growing. There's about 5,000 followers. That it's just about um, kind of inspiring positivity, in the apocalypse. The whole theme of one of the themes of Cuisine del Apocalypse is just because it's the end of the world, or just because it's the apocalypse doesn't mean it's the end of the world. And, you know, I don't know. We're in a time where there's so much negativity out there and there's so many reasons to say you can't do something, but man, it's the end of the world. This chef is getting hit with zombies and robots and volcanoes and asteroids, but he still is following his dreams and doing what it takes to be happy, because there's a lot of reasons, especially right now, to be sad and depressed, and I get it, totally get it. We all struggle with that stuff, but at the end of the day, if you look for the good, you'll find it, and support each other. I mean, Cuisine del Apocalypse is a lot about community, and just breaking bread with people, sharing a meal and serving your fellow man. I don't know. There's a lot of value in that, and just I think if we all did, now I'm feeling like I'm getting all like preachy. But if we, it's don't take things too seriously, I guess,
Yeah.
and just enjoy yourselves and be good to one another. And that's a lot of what Cuisine de l'Apocalypse is. And yeah, hopefully people pick up on that.
Just want to say, as somebody who collects, as a weirdo who collects cookbooks, that would be super cool to have in a collection.
Yeah,
One with the movie tie-in.
yeah. Well, and like a whole thing with it is the a big part of the recipes in cuisine is that they're gluten free. That's like part of the story. And Zuzu, who plays Laura in my film, is gluten free, and my two daughters are dairy free. So I cook. I'm a chef, self proclaimed, but all my like recipes are all dairy and gluten free, and because they have to be when I cook, and they're bomb, man. I don't mean to brag, but it's good food. So it's like kind of silly, but of the times, there's a lot of gluten free and dairy
Yeah.
free people out there who would pick up on that. And if you're not gluten and dairy free, they're still really good, and you won't miss it. I mean, there's no cheese on the stuff, which hard not to miss that. But
Yeah. Hey, I'm not a vegetarian, but there can be good vegetarian dishes.
it's true. It's
So,
true. Yeah,
um, real quick, you mentioned the TikTok. Do you know off the top of your head what the name of the TikTok page is?
I think it's just Cuisine de l'Apocalypse.
Like just at cuisine.
At Cuisine de l'Apocalypse. Here, I got it. Yeah, at Cuisine de l'Apocalypse. No
All right.
spaces.
I'm going to add it in here to the ticker, and we'll make sure that we put it in the show notes for when the video is released as well. That way we can get that promoted for you too. Um, Other than that, we appreciate you coming on. We had fun email back and forth trying to get a time set for that.
Yeah.
And we'd absolutely love to have you back on the show.
Oh yeah, love to come back. I'll if I get this cookbook out, man. You're
Oh,
the first one I'll send a copy to.
oh, man, that'd be so awesome.
See if I'll get the. I can see if I can get the chef to sign it. And be a whole thing.
Yeah, that'd be great. Center of my cookbook collection
Yeah,
shelf.
nice.
Most of my cookbooks are from like old ladies and like old churches and stuff
Ah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
That's how you know they're good, though.
Ah,
They got the best recipes.
you
Lots of
find like
butter.
100-year-old Ukrainian cookbook,
Yeah,
it's gonna be good.
yeah, yeah. For real.
So, yeah, thanks for coming on.
Okay,
It's been great. We'll have you on again in the future.
cool.
And Drew, unless you have anything else, we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
No, man. Thank you. I'm gonna hit up the waiting game on Tubi as soon as we're done here.
Yeah,
Yeah, check it out. It's its own thing for sure. But yeah, give it a shot.
cool. All right. This has been our interview with Kyle Weingart. I pronounced it correctly this time, and I was
Oh yeah.
thinking about it real hard,
Yeah.
like right at the end there, make sure I didn't mess it up. Everyone check out the movies and keep your eyes peeled for the cookbook. We'll be the first to let everybody know when it's out. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah, we don't have an outro video, so this is real weird. So just
We
gonna stop.
usually have an outro.
Yeah, I'm gonna just stop the recording.
All right. Take care, guys.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.